I hope like this chick gets fired for her appearance at
Yeah,
Congress.
no shit.
She's clearly a fucking retard, and there's
She
no way
can't fucking answer a yes or no question.
And
Do
she's
you
like,
have an ultrasound in your office?
yeah.
What's the problem here?
Yeah, what's the problem here? It's like, and people are expected to trust her with their lives.
I know. It's scary.
It's very scary. All right. All right, so we have a lot of Senate hearing clips. The first one is just that stupid Hindu doctor, another clip from her. But the rest of these are clips from that guy who was the head of Biden's whatever when he was allowing the for the Republican Congress people to have their phones tapped.
Okay,
So
I don't see us, by the way.
Oh, because I still have it on full. But yeah, there's a bunch of those clips, and then after that, Rubio had to go before Senate, and all the Democrats are grilling him. And then after that, it's the CEOs of TikTok. Netflix had to go before Congress because Netflix is like trying to buy Warner Brothers, which means if they buy it, they own everything.
Yeah.
And of course, Congress is like, well, Netflix has a woke agenda, so we're going to have this one company own majority of entertainment with this woke agenda,
Yeah.
And then the last set of clips are from Trump's press, his Treasury, the head of the Treasury Department. He gets grilled by a bunch of Democrats. So we'll start with this one Hindu chick from last time who couldn't answer what a woman was. She couldn't answer if men could get pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, I found another clip, and this chick is like, fucking, this is terrifying if she's your doctor. That's all I gotta say. They're talking about like giving people dangerous medication.
Dr. Roger Marshall.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody, to our witnesses. Dr. Verma, do you not have other Prostin drugs to treat postpartum hemorrhage like Prostin M? Is that the only drug that's out there that works?
We have a few medications to treat postpartum hemorrhage, and when I am in situations where someone's...
I know what you're saying. I delivered a baby every day for 30 years. I know your situation, but there are other alternatives out there. No one here is trying to take those away. These abortion drugs, category A drugs are safe, B are probably safe, C. What type of category drug are these prostaglandin drugs that you prescribe?
In Louisiana now, they have been made controlled substances, and I would like to highlight when I'm in a situation with a postpartum hemorrhage, yes, there are other medications.
We'll let you answer that later on someone else's time. I'm sorry, but you would agree with me that these prostaglandin drugs are category X drugs. The answer is yes. They are category X drugs. Okay. Dr. Walbenhurst, get that right? Okay. I think, like you, delivered a baby every day of my life for 30 years, nearly every day for 30 years. A woman comes in for her first visit, and she tells you when her last menstrual cycle was. It's pretty common for them to be off. In fact, it's very common to be off about a month. It would not be unusual. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Dr. Marshall, and actually, I would add to that that I recently had a woman come in because she was having some bleeding and abdominal pain, and she was 23 weeks and didn't know it, and that was
Very common. We've all had that patient in the ER with abdominal pain, 5 minutes apart, and they getting ready to do an appendicitis. Somebody they call in the OBs. Oh my God, she's having a baby. I think you would also agree with me, doctor, that the failure rate of these abortion drugs is probably around 5% at less than 10 weeks. But the failure rate of giving it to a 14-week person over the phone, the failure rate is probably 10%. Failure rate meaning it doesn't work, right? Would an ultrasound, not only seeing the patient in person, but having an ultrasound at your helm there impact your decision making? And then you and I don't prescribe these abortion drugs, but taking care of a miscarriage is similar. You and I have taken care of thousands of miscarriages. Would you add any color to that?
Yes, I would say that that there would be a substantial change. That's because once you get into the second trimester, the risk of hemorrhage increases dramatically.
Yeah, so my point is, you do this visit over the phone, the young lady thinks she's 8 weeks, and I have so much compassion for these young ladies. They're scared and they need help, and that's why I opened up my practice, regardless of your ability to pay, to say, look, I had more than one patients come into my office that said they'd been to Planned Parenthood and they were being coerced into abortion. And she came to my office and said, is there anything else we can do, doctor? Do I have to have an abortion? And I said, of course, we'll take care of you. We're going to get you hooked up with Catholic Social Services, and we're going to get you a medical card. We're going to do whatever it takes. But my point is this. That same patient calls me from home or just goes to the pharmacy and picks this drug up. They think they're 10 weeks, but they're actually 14 weeks. There's a 10% chance of this drug not working. And the risk factors associated with this X-rated drug, I'm gonna have to read them because I didn't realize this. 5% of the babies that go on to deliver that took this drug, 5% of them have a major fetal malformation, limb deformities. So it's like they're missing fingers, they're missing digits. Cranial nerve palsies. Think of like Bell's palsy. You can't open your eyelids. You can't smile. Cranial nerve palsies, cranial facial defects, and of course, premature births. Doctor, I'm going to come back to you. Do you think an ultrasound, seeing the patient in person, is beneficial and safe, and not doing so is below the standard of care?
I would agree with that. And I'd also add that ACOG in its committee opinion says that any pregnancy that is not dated by ultrasound is suboptimally dated.
Yeah. Dr. Verma, you take care of ladies with miscarriage, and I'm sorry for your loss as well. It's one of my, just worst days is taking care of a woman with a miscarriage. Do you do ultrasounds typically when a person comes to your office for a threatened miscarriage?
I do ultrasounds in a lot of different settings, including when a patient is unsure of their last menstrual period and
But do you, can you,
wants an abortion.
I'm sorry, I know you're kind of been coached to go offline here, but do you do an ultrasound on every patient that comes to your office with a threatened miscarriage to figure out how far along they are?
I do ultrasounds, again, in many different situations. I think the misinformation here is
This is why, and I'm speaking for myself, I will never trust doctors. Because this bitch is a fucking doctor, right? We watched the clip before where she couldn't answer the simple question if men can get pregnant. And now they're asking her a simple question. Do you do ultrasounds on women who think they fucking miscarriage? And she can't even answer that question.
Yeah.
that when a patient comes
Dr.
in for
Walpenhurst, do you do
abortion
ultrasounds when patients
care,
come to your office with a threatened miscarriage?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Verma, last question. Would an ultrasound and seeing the patient in person be helpful to you in making the determination of whether you would prescribe these abortion pills?
When a patient is unsure about their last menstrual period, we do connect them with ultrasound. What's limiting their ability to get that ultrasound is abortion bans and restrictions in their communities.
You don't have an ultrasound in your office?
In situations where patients are getting
Do you have an ultrasound in your office?
because you're talking about telehealth care.
I think the answer is yes.
Care through telehealth. We would
Telehealth,
use that.
taking care of ectopic pregnancies, threatened miscarriages, prescribing abortion pills is below the standard of care. You're putting women's lives at danger.
Senator,
Dude,
not get it.
I hope, I hope like when you see like people do something stupid on like libs at TikTok, like a doctor or nurse, they get like fired. I hope like this chick gets fired for her appearance at Congress.
Yeah, no shit.
She's clearly a fucking retard. And there's
She
no way
can't
she's
fucking answer a yes or no question.
And
Do
she's
you have an ultrasound in your office?
yeah.
What's the problem here?
Yeah, what's the problem here? It's like, and people are expected to trust her with their lives.
I know. It's scary.
It's very scary. All right, let's skip through this. Now we're moving. That was just one clip, but now we're moving on to the guy who let all the people's phones get tapped.
After we watch this,
If you're thinking about getting a consolidation,
Hey,
yields back.
You know Mario Lopez is a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Who's that?
Oh, you're probably too young for Saved by the Bell, but he was on Saved by the Bell when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, I never watched it.
Mr. Smith, is Cassidy Hutchinson a liar?
Yes.
She was their star witness, January 6th committee, their star witness in one of those staged and choreographed hearings they paid the former president of ABC News to put together. She was, in fact, the only witness at this special prime time hearing, Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, 8 o'clock in the evening, and she told some stories. I mean, these were some stories. She talked about President lunged across the back seat, grabbed the steering wheel, tried to drive the car to the Capitol. And I just want to know, you think she was lying?
Chairman Jordan, my assessment of that particular issue is that with respect to the testimony about someone the president lunging towards the driver, my recollection of her testimony about that is that it was secondhand. She had said she'd heard that from somebody.
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
I'm sorry.
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
Yes.
White House Deputy Chief of Operations, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, right? You remember what he said about it?
As I sit here right now, I do not.
Yeah, he said it didn't happen. How about Bobby Engel? You familiar with that name?
Yes, I am.
Secret Service agent who was actually in the car that day. You know what he said? He said it didn't happen. And they both said the first time they ever heard this story was when Ms. Hutchinson testified in the primetime hearing as their star witness of the January 6th committee. By the way, did you ever confirm her testimony about this particular incident?
We conducted, as I said before, our own independent investigation of all aspects of the case that we thought was relevant. We, attorneys from my office.
Did you ever confirm it? That's a simple question.
Well, we interviewed her, I should say, attorneys in my office before.
Did you ever confirm the president leaping across the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, this whole concoction she brought up in the January 6th hearing? Did you ever confirm that?
Right. We interviewed another firsthand witness who was in the car who did not confirm that had happened, but also
in your deposition to the committee last month, Mr. Smith, you said this: my recollection with Ms. Hutchinson was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay. You remember making that statement to us last month in the deposition?
I did, and I was referring particularly to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and you also said Ms. Hutchinson regarding this particular claim was a second or even third-hand witness. We asked you, if you were a defense attorney, how would you handle cross-examining her if she was on the witness stand? And you said, if I were a defense attorney and Ms. Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do was seek to preclude her testimony because it was hearsay. You remember saying all that?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
That's correct, right? Were you going to put her on the witness stand if you ever got to trial?
We had not made final determinations as to who we were going to call as a witness. We had a large.
You were still considering her?
We had a large choice of witnesses in this case.
Are you familiar with what Washington Post reporters Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis said in their book? They did this book, 300-some pages book on Chronicle and the whole investigation at the Justice Department. And here's what they said on page 310. They said, Jack Smith had wondered whether some of Hutchinson's claims might be relied upon at trial. Still, at one point, Smith told the elections team he wasn't ready to give up on Hutchinson's account. Ultimately, however, Trump administration officials uniformly, fiercely disputed her accounts under oath. Prosecutors on your team told Smith they wouldn't want to use Hutchinson as a witness in court, and Smith agreed. Are Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis, who wrote this, are they lying?
My recollection is that I certainly had not made any final determinations about who we were going to call.
And that's the point. That is the point. The fact that they used her in a primetime hearing and you won't rule out using her, or didn't rule out using her, putting her on the witness stand when everybody knows she wasn't telling the truth, that says it all. That's the degree the left and Democrats were willing to go to get President Trump, putting on the witness stand someone everybody knows is making it up. Everybody knows that. And you were willing to do. By the way, you know how many times Cassidy Hutchinson was mentioned in their report, the January 6th report? Any idea, Mr. Smith?
I do not.
185 times. Someone that the whole country knows wasn't telling the truth, and you were still considering putting her on the witness stand because you had to get President Trump. And everybody can see that. We better take a...
That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean I've heard that before. I'm surprised they're going around this circle again.
Well, because they're actually having the hearings about it. That guy got called because of the whole like wiretapping stuff, but they also asked him questions about January 6th because he was in charge of the Justice Department during that time.
I see. Okay.
You know? All right. Clip by this.
Recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with one.
It was 16 days after becoming the highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the speech or debate clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll
You were
records-
collecting months worth of phone data on the Republican Speaker of the House, the leader of the opposition, right after he got sworn in as Speaker, all around the time of a major vote. That sounds like a flagrant violation of the speech or debate clause to me, and I think most people
Absolutely.
agree with me. And Speaker McCarthy had no recourse, did he? Because you issued a non-disclosure order ensuring that neither he nor any of the American people knew about these subpoenas. Is that right?
The toll record, the non-content toll record subpoenas, we did secure non-disclosure orders for those subpoenas.
You did. And let me ask you, Mr. Smith, at the time you secured those non-disclosure orders, was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
The non-disclosure order was based on concerns about...
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Uh-oh.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be
You
associated.
think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the
Okay.
investigation.
I think that you were using, this was clearly in reference to Speaker McCarthy, and you were using clearly false information to secure a non-disclosure order to hide from Speaker McCarthy and from the American people the fact that you were spying on his toll records. But I've got more, so let's move on. In May of 2023, you also issued subpoenas for toll records of 9 U.S. senators and an additional representative. Is that right?
In May of 23, we did issue.
You did, and there were non-disclosure orders in conjunction with those subpoenas as well, right?
That's correct, consistent with department policy and the law.
So again, nobody would know what you were doing. The senators would, and the representatives would, and the American people wouldn't know what you were doing. Is that right?
The toll records that we secured and the non-disclosure orders were consistent with policy and
And
consistent.
you knew whenever you were doing that there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. Is that right?
The toll record subpoenas that we secured were with the concurrence of the public integrity.
Your own analysis says that you knew there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. I have it right here. This is an email from John Keller at Public Integrity Section.
Yikes! This guy's just getting fucking caught up in his
Yeah,
own lie.
no.
To your team. As you are aware, quote, as you are aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure of toll records of a member's legislative calls violates the speech or debate clause in the DC Circuit. That's from your own analysis right there. So you did know, didn't you?
Sir, with respect to the item you just put up on the screen, the last sentence states,
Oh, we're going to get to the last sentence.
okay,
We're going to get to the last sentence. And you cite case law in here, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. Is that right? Or do you think that you didn't have to abide by that precedent?
to be clear, this statement is not from my office. This is the statement.
This
of
is
Public
this is
Integrity
your
Section.
justification for those subpoenas and NDOs that you ordered. This was part of your analysis. It's a cursory analysis. I think it's worth noting. But let's get to that last sentence then. Quote, given my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. In other words, you're using a novel legal theory, which you knew was novel, has never been tested by any court. You're not charging any of these members. Nobody's going to know about it because you issued NDOs. Nobody's going to sue about it, so sue this. So who cares? We're going to do it anyways. I mean, you walked all over the Constitution throughout this entire process.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time's
spying
expired.
on members of Congress, and you know it. It's absolutely disgraceful. I yield back.
Recognizes Ms.
Damn. What'd you think of that, Luke? That guy got caught fucking red-handed.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like about what is it, Senator Gill there?
Yeah, Brandon Gill.
Brandon Gill. I don't know if I think he's a congressman. Dude, that dude comes with receipts.
I know.
He just comes with receipts. He knows what's up, man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like
he knows
definitely.
what's up.
He's one of my favorite congressmen. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This guy freaks me out.
Talib from Michigan.
That guy's a hillbilly, but I like him.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think many of us were there with the survivors, and
This one is on the Clintons because they were debating fucking holding the Clintons in contempt of court,
Oh yeah.
and they ended up voting and they held them in contempt.
Good.
But during this hearing was just pretty much the Democrats arguing why there's no reason to hold the Clintons in contempt. They were just
Of course.
talking
Of
about
course.
yeah, all they talked about was how much they hate Trump. So, but this is like a spat between this fucking terrorist and the other guy.
I'd like to bring them into the room because I think it's really important. You know, it's not just one president, but now two that have been connected to the Epstein sex trafficking. One of them even testified about walking into the house, the butler opening the door. There's administrative assistant having no idea she was walking into a horrific scheme that was sending young girls to the powerful, to the rich, the elected officials. And one of the first pictures she said she saw was of Clinton with his arms around Epstein. She saw another one of Trump with Epstein. And I just remember her almost trying to convince us, like, understand that I had no idea, as if somehow she was guilty. Do you all remember that? And so I'm here to tell you, I'm ready to vote, but I'm also just taken aback and disgusted because I didn't need a birthday card to say the President of the United States, current President of the United States had something. I didn't need to see the photos by the chairman today of Clinton. All I needed to do was hear the survivors tell us, please do something. These are people that have impacted their lives forever. What I just don't understand, Mr. Chair, and this is with all due respect, I just don't get why Bondi cannot be held in contempt, why we're not for, I don't care if she says that she wants to plead the fifth. So what? Do it in front of the American people. Same thing with Maxwell. She's telling the committee she's going to plead the fifth. Fine. Have her come before this committee to do it in front of the American people. The fact of the matter is, are you saying that if anybody wants to plead the fifth, they don't have to be forced to come before this committee? That doesn't make any sense. What excuse is that? That doesn't make any sense. The fact that I continue to tell you all, what is the most consistent thing survivors have asked us to do? Follow the money. How come we haven't forced JP Morgan Chase before this committee? How come we haven't allowed Bank of America to come before this committee? Mr. Chair, it is so disgusting. And this is why everybody's so distracted by this whole thing of like, oh, you know, the Clintons, Trump and everything. But who was funding it? Literally, JP Morgan turned a blind eye to evidence of sex trafficking.
Now, if you notice, she just talked about how Trump was friends with Epstein too.
Yeah.
You notice how she was just talking about that?
Yeah.
And then right there, she says, while we're all distracted, whether it's Trump or the Clintons.
Blind eye to evidence of sex trafficking, even after his 2008 conviction.
So it's like, you just brought that up and now you're saying you're distracted because that's what you're saying.
Hear me out. After he was convicted, they still hid suspicious activity reports that should have been reported. You know, you see the fact that continuing them saying, well, in 2028, agreed to pay what, $290 million to settle a lawsuit. I don't care. You come here and because it's the truth, y'all. You guys got to realize Epstein's not the last person. There's probably another Epstein out there right now.
Yeah.
Doing sex trafficking right now.
No, there is. It's Puff Daddy.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Diddy, I mean, who knows who else? I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
But this is what but during this hearing, this is what all the Democrats do. Like, it was like that, the Minnesota fraud thing.
Yeah.
The Democrats brought up every example of fraud possible to not talk about the Minnesota fraud. And that's what they're doing in this hearing is they're bringing up, well, what about these people? What about that people? It's like, well, we're subpoenaing the Clintons.
Yeah, let's do it all, man. This is a bipartisan issue. I mean, everybody should care about anybody who's in those files.
Yeah, but unfortunately, though, it's not a bipartisan issue because trust me, now that nothing's come out with Trump and the Epstein files like they thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
you're not going to hear them talk about this shit again.
But I've also seen the opposite. So this is where, like, I don't know what's true and I don't know what's fake.
Well, what
Because
opposite of you
people are
seen?
just making shit up and posting it as fact on the internet. So I don't know, like,
All right, what opposite have you seen?
something about Trump, like raping girls or something like that, or I don't know, something along those lines. My liberal friends have been posting it on their
Well, here,
Instagram stories.
I can there's only one example, and I know I sent it to you because fucking it's Glenn Beck breaking it down.
Yeah.
And hold on, I'll have it's like a quick little clip. I'll have us watch it real fast. But boom. What the fuck is it? It's Glenn Beck breaking it down, and the one chick, like I don't want to hack it. Let me find the video because he's gonna he'll break it down better than I can. Man, we send each other a lot that I don't even fucking look at. Unless I tagged it. Hold on. What do I do with my saved? Maybe saved? I don't look at it. I've never navigated through Facebook on this like detail right now. No. I could have sworn I fucking sent it to you on Facebook. Oh wait, am I an intellectual dummies? Is that why? No.
Oh, is it in the messages?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in messages. It's the last message you sent me. Hold on, let me make sure this is the right thing.
With it's Glenn Beck, I believe. No, this is on Instagram. Why is that doing that? No, that's not it. Takes us right to fucking Instagram.
Oh yeah, Glenn Beck. Yeah, it's in your messages to me.
Oh, you know why? For some reason, why is that like this? Hold on. Why am I in? The problem is I'm in.
Oh yeah, okay. So, I mean, if you want, I'll articulate it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, there is a message. There's an email that Jeff Epstein wrote about Donald Trump.
Mm.
And it says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him, and he has never once been mentioned. So basically what that means is this seems like an attempt to get Trump to, I don't know, hook up with an underage girl or something like that, you know? And he just won't go for it. That's what it seemed. That's how I interpreted it, at least.
Oh, that's bullshit. I know I fucking hold on 1 second. I'm in my own let's see. No. No, but Glenn Beck broke it down where the one, like, her name is redacted in the files that got released, but this one woman who, like, told her story in 2012 said Trump never did anything to her.
Yeah.
Then she retestified after Trump won the election in 2016, and she said she did. And in the Epstein files that are released, her name is blacked out. And if people actually knew who that was, they would know it was the woman who first
I
testified.
know exactly what you're talking about. They redacted her name, even though
Yes, she had already testified.
she had already testified, and they just did it basically to make it look as worse as possible, as bad as possible.
And that's like the only thing I've seen too is that.
Yeah.
So, but the things that you see, like in the emails that I found in the stories about like George Bush that I've seen so far, like that's fucking wild.
Yeah, man. And
There's
hey,
no,
I
there's
sent
no,
you.
there's no stories about Trump killing people and eating people's flesh. And
I know, man. Yo, I just sent you a couple things on Instagram on the Intellectual Dummies. Now, for anybody listening, these satanic pedophile cults are real. They are fucking real. I just watched an interview with this little girl who was just describing them.
oh yeah, I've seen
eating
that
babies.
before. That looked like little British girl or something,
Yeah.
right? I've seen that before.
You know, and then you get into the, what is it? The adrenochrome or
adrenochrome.
The adrenochrome or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's what they into this for. This is some like secret ancient religion that has been going along for a while. It must give them power, and that's what they think keeps them in power for generations and generations and generations. You know, I mean, the same families have been president over and over and over all across the world. You can trace all these lineages back to the ancient Egyptians. I mean, that's why we got pyramids on our money.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody, like, not to get into conspiracy theories that I was into 20 fucking years ago, but why do we got pyramids on our money? That's kind of fucking weird. How come it's not Mount Rushmore?
Or like, yeah, exactly.
Why is it a pyramid
That's
in
a
a country on a different continent, different culture, different like,
different.
That's how far back this satanic crazy shit goes. It goes back that far. There's just things that you wouldn't even think to be true that's happening right now. And just the bubble that we live in. You know, we literally live in like a hamster cage. We really do. All of us do. It's wild.
You've come a long way, Lucas. I do have to say.
Dude, it's crazy because it's like, I just feel like every conspiracy theory, just wait a couple of years. Maybe you got to wait 10 years.
Yeah, it's
True.
like it's like 3 to 5 years now.
Yeah.
Ever since COVID.
Yeah.
Everything's coming true within 3 to 5 years of it coming
Well,
out.
I mean, Bohemian Grove. That was what, early 2000s, right?
Yeah, it might have been late. Yeah, early 2000s. Alex Jones.
Maybe late night. I don't know, but
Maybe.
regardless, Alex Jones was like, they're sacrificing babies. I think he was right.
Yeah, he was right.
I think he was right.
Hey, and he was right about them turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, he was. He was right about a lot of shit. Dude was right about a lot of shit.
Now, we should hold everybody in contempt that had anything to do to cover this up, including bank executives.
But see, this is why I feel like it's disingenuous, because they're just deflecting from the Clintons.
Yeah.
They're talking about everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And that's
yeah.
why I don't feel like this is a bipartisan issue. I feel like it's a
Yeah,
partisan
it should
issue.
be bipartisan, but obviously you got these lackeys that are
still
trying to
have their
hold the
jobs.
water for the Clintons.
The fact of the matter is, we know what this is. You want to talk about Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, but talk about everybody involved.
How about
Because
one
it
at a
does look
time,
like
though?
you're only
Yeah.
doing this to
We can't call them all to Congress at once. Why not
Yes,
start
how
with
about
like
one at a time?
Yeah, let's start with like one of the most powerful.
Yeah, how about we start with the guy who who got a painting done of him in a red skirt
No, it's
in Jeffrey Epstein's fucking mansion. Let's
No,
start
it's-
with that guy. How's that?
it's the blue dress of
The blue,
Monica
yeah, the
Lewinsky.
blue dress.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fucked up. But even that, like, how about let's start with the Clintons, a family that has like a kill count.
Yeah.
Where people just mysteriously die for no reason at all. When they
Yeah.
find out too much information.
distract everyone when we know not one, but two presidents were involved. And those young ladies
Yeah. And one of them being
shaking
Bill Clinton?
when they were testing in front of them because they didn't know if they could trust us. Some of them literally said, we had no idea what we were walking into. But they were connected to the rich. They were connected to the presidents. You heard them say that over and over again. But one of the things they continue to say is follow the money. Because, Mr. Chair, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, JP Morgan, all these people, they will not be the last folks that allowed a sex trafficker to harm young women, children. And so we have to set a very good precedent.
And also, if I can point out, she's a Muslim. Does
Yeah,
she really? Does she
yeah.
really care about sex trafficking of women?
Yeah. Yeah.
Precedent that we will not sit back and say, well, Maxwell's going to plead the fifth. Bondi is going to plead the fifth. I don't care. You're a public servant. Come before this committee. Maxwell,
Also, Bondi isn't pleading the fifth. She's actually testifying before court. I think maybe next week.
Oh, wow.
you were
Okay.
directly involved. How many times did the survivors mention her? How many times? Saying that she lured them in. She was primarily involved. And Mr. Chair, you and I had conversations. And you said, give us names. They gave us names. And you know it. So why are y'all focused only on them? And let me tell you, you know where I stand. I will hold anybody in contempt that will not give us information. I don't care how many lawyers they bounce up on us. But I'll tell you, Mr. Chair, shame on us for not forcing Bondi before this committee. Shame on us for not forcing Maxwell before this committee. Shame on us for not forcing JP Morgan Chase to answer questions that many of us have of $1.5 billion in suspicious activity. Because somebody had to fund this madness, this horrific actions by these men. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield.
Maybe we'll find it like in the Clinton Foundation. They were funding it.
Yeah.
You know, that could be possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ms. Talib, if I may respond to some of that before I recognize Ms. Bobert's next. Okay. I believe with all my heart, you are as sincere as anyone on this committee about wanting to get answers about the truth. And I believe your heart is pure. Maxwell is coming in front of this committee. And
But
we've
when?
tried,
No, let us decide that today when, like
well,
when.
it's nailed down. February what day? The 9th. She's
February
coming
9th.
and you'll be able to ask her questions. That's one of the things Clinton wanted was only me
Yeah.
and Garcia.
Retard.
Maxwell's coming. Anyone who wants to ask her questions on this committee will be able to. So that's,
No, I think the
that's nailed
American
down.
people want answers from President
And I
Clinton.
know, I'm not trying to argue with you, Mr. Slaver. I just want to respond to Pam Bondi is coming before Congress in 2 weeks. I am confident she is going to be grilled by both parties on the discharge petition. If you didn't want, I don't want to, and Ms. Randall, you mentioned something about the Judiciary Committee. Believe me, I don't want to work with the Judiciary Committee on any investigation. Okay. But when we passed that discharge petition, that got them involved.
But we
So
had an
I know,
outstanding
but
subpoena.
just let me explain. Pam Bondi's going to be in front of the Judiciary Committee. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if there's been a document dumped
Mr. Chair, we can't
after that.
forget the
And then
banking institutions
the
either.
last thing, this is the most important thing. Months ago, I approached Ms. Tlaib, Ms. Lee, and Ms. Stansberry. And I said, please, if you all get a chance, and I know you all are all sincere, try to get some names from these women. And we will continue to try to get documents.
Mr.
I
Chair,
subpoenaed the
just
estate. If I didn't
Mr.
want
Chair,
to know
let's
that.
Shut up,
follow
you
the money.
dumb broad.
These bank
Mr. Lee, you're out of
executives.
order. I'm just, we want to hold everyone accountable. We don't care. We don't care if they're billionaires. We don't care if they're Republicans. We don't care who they are.
Do you agree to work with me, though? We got to get the bank executives here. Because, Mr. Chair, you and I know that this is still being funded in some other way. Epstein's dead. But we know there's another
he's
person
not.
out there doing the same thing. We know it because the banks cover it up. These suspicious activity forms were literally these reports that had to be filed. They were there for a reason. So we can stop.
And last thing, and then I'm going to open it, I think, to see if there's any other members, but we are going in looking at suspicious activity reports, both Republicans and Democrat staffs going in looking at suspicious activity reports as we speak. I'm all about looking at suspicious activity reports. Now, time's expired. Does any other member seek recognition? Mr. Fallon from Texas.
So that whole like rant she did about people not getting called to court, they're all getting called to court.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, what was the point of all that?
Just virtue signaling.
Mr. Smith, do you see criminals to my left? You don't see any. Do you see people who are committing crimes because they continue to believe
Yo, look at this dumb chick holding up this sign right here.
things that just aren't true? That's paraphrasing Ronald Reagan, that liberals aren't stupid. They just know things that don't happen to be true. If the president believed that he was cheated in an election, that there was fraud, or in some other way, a number of items led to his defeat, when in fact he should have won according to the Constitution, does that make him a criminal?
Sir,
Yo, I bet fucking real fast.
He should have won according to the Constitution. I haven't heard that argument.
Oh, dude, freaking, they're finding out like things about that Trump was saying about the election fucking interference. They're like finding it all out now.
Well, I know that the FBI has been doing like raids on certain buildings in like what, Georgia or something.
Yeah, yeah, Georgia.
I forget, but I haven't studied up on that at all. But
Yo, in my head, I'm like, he was probably like, yo, where's the stand for the sign? She's like, oh, I totally forgot it. He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
well, now you're gonna hold it up and you better keep it up.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a criminal.
That's why she looks so focused.
sir,
No, that's a yes or no, please, Mr. Smith. These people here are continuing to grapple constantly with things that aren't true, like socialism works, or that somehow everything the Republicans do is evil and everything they do is right. They've never reached a conclusion in a typical partisan case in which we're not evil because we think something different and we're not wrong. You understand the Constitution. Do you understand the Bill of Rights, that someone has the absolute right to believe something, whether it's true or not, and to advocate for something, whether it's true or not? Do you understand that in addition to your oath to the Constitution, that that's one of the things the First Amendment allows for, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you know that people have a right to opine, lobby for, assert, do everything they can legally to ask for people to make different decisions, then why is it you saw criminal conduct on behalf of a president who believed he didn't win? Chairman Jordan and myself have something in common along with a number of others here. We saw wrongdoing, and on January 6th, we voted not to confirm 2 states because they had violated the U.S. Constitution in how they selected who got ballots. And yet, you're going to come here and say, oh, I just followed the law. When you went after these people and you said, well, technically I can do that, you didn't see any selective nature or any separation of powers under the Constitution to spying on the activities and the conversations of the Speaker of the House? To what end would conversations between the Speaker of the U.S. House, third or second in line to be the president, and the president, in what basis would it be any of your business other than you believe that there was a conspiracy without conspiracy as a basic premise? You, like the president's men for Richard Nixon, went after your political enemies. Maybe they're not your political enemies, but they sure as hell were Joe Biden's political enemies, weren't they? They were Harris's political enemies. They were the enemies of the president, and you were their arm, weren't you?
No.
No. Oh, great. So you spied on the Speaker of the House and these other senators and so on, and informed no one, and in fact put in a gag order so they couldn't discover it. If they were not subjects of a conspiracy investigation, why did Congress, a separate branch that you, under the Constitution, have to respect, why is it that no one should be informed, including the judges? As you went in to spy on these people, did you mention that you were spying on seeking records so you could find out about when conversations occurred between the U.S. Speaker of the House and the president? Did you inform the judge, or did you hold that back?
My office didn't spy on anyone.
Wait a second. The question I asked you, Mr. Smith, was pretty straightforward. Did you withhold that information from an Article III judge in the process of taking the records of the Speaker of the House?
We complied with department.
Did you hold back
Mr. Chairman, would you please instruct the gentleman to allow the witness to answer the questions?
It's not your time. I'd like my time back.
Mr. Chairman,
again,
you have
please.
repeatedly done that in the past. The witness has the right to answer the question.
And there'll be due time to answer the question. Would you please put my time back and let me finish this? Mr. Smith, I asked you a question and you were not responsive to it, and I want you to be responsive to it. Did you, whether you think it was legal or not, whether you think it was right or not, did you withhold the name of Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, when you were seeking records on Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, or Jim Jordan, the chairman of this committee?
At the time the gentleman is.
No, please give me
few more
back the
seconds.
time that was taken away.
Time has expired, but we're going to let the witness answer your question because it's an important question. The witness can respond.
We did not provide that information to the judge when we requested a non-disclosure order, consistent with the law and consistent with department.
Mr. Chairman, the amazing thing here today is that we have an admission that an Article
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time has
Come on.
expired by now 34 seconds.
It gets more than 5 minutes.
How many
'cause it's a
times you
good
interrupt
question?
me?
The time belongs to the gentleman from California, but it has
I
expired.
will be brief in my address to the chairman. We have the evidence that an Article I representative on behalf of the president withheld
Order,
that
Mr.
Article
Chairman.
III.
Mr. Chairman, I
that
witness granted the
information.
same leniency.
And with that, I yield back in
Yield
disgust of this witness.
Sticking with California, the gentleman.
Yo, that guy got grilled.
Thank you very much. Thank you
I
very
recognize
much.
the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Smith, how many members of Congress or the Senate did you subpoena phone toll records?
As I sit here right now, I do not recall a specific number.
Is this the complete list right here? Well, let me ask you this. Am I on this list? Did you target my records and subpoena my phone toll records?
I remember him yelling about this.
My understanding is your records were subpoenaed by prosecutors before I became special counsel.
Well, staff would put this up on the screen. I'm thankful for the great staff who discovered the email where I learned for the first time a few weeks ago that my phone records were indeed targeted. We called AT&T and we've learned that they were given to the Department of Justice.
Oh, yeah.
As this,
I don't have AT&T, but that's fucked up that they allowed that to happen.
I know. They willingly gave it over.
email indicates, because I've been in communication with Scott Perry, one of my colleagues here in Congress, who literally had his phone taken from him in front of his family. And of course, as we've already talked about in this document, it talks about you could be in violation of the privilege by even obtaining and possessing this information if the member objected to the disclosure. This happened 4 years ago in May of 2022, and I couldn't object because I didn't know. I didn't know until about 3 weeks ago. My question here is, was there any limits to your investigation or the investigation that preceded you, Mr. Smith? Because as egregious as a violation of separation of powers this is, as an egregious and abuse of power it is, it's far more concerning you are clearly targeting American citizens for merely being conservative or supporting the president. We've got memos that we've already been talking about in this hearing from April 2022 that preceded you that establish and open the investigations, one of which has Attorney General Merrick Garland's signature on it. And the focus was the electors. Now, that was 6 months before you were appointed. You testified earlier, you met and interviewed Merrick Garland and Deputy AG Lisa Monaco, and you briefed the AG and Deputy multiple times. Did you brief them on the electors and the prosecution of their supposed crimes?
Did I? I'm sorry.
Did you brief them on the electors and their supposed crimes?
I don't recall specific conversations, but I'm sure that in the course of briefing them, I discussed.
Wasn't that the purpose of the entire investigation as it was set out? Because putting aside that in 1960, it was already talked about, my friend, Mr. Tiffany, that Hawaii put forward an alternate slate of electors, the investigation pivoted to President Trump and, frankly, anybody who knew him. Do you know who Cleta Mitchell is?
Yes, I do.
She's an election lawyer that was involved in filing an election contest on behalf of President Trump in Georgia in December of 2020. A 64-page complaint with over 1,100 pages of exhibits, witness affidavits, and expert witness reports documenting thousands of votes cast in violation of Georgia law, but which were nevertheless included in the vote totals. Now, notwithstanding the disposition of the cases that was filed, is that a criminal act? Filing an election contest on behalf of a candidate for office, a client. Is that a criminal act, yes or no?
No, in fact, we stated.
So why did you deem it appropriate to monitor Cleta Mitchell's long-distance phone records in 2023, 2.5 years after the election contest was filed and after the presidential electors were certified? What about Jenna Ellis? What about Sidney Powell? What about Bill Sepien? What crime did you suspect had been committed by them that would warrant monitoring their phone records 2.5 years after the 2020 election was certified?
With respect to Sidney Powell, she is one of the co-conspirators alleged in the indictment. I don't know what you mean by monitoring, sir, if you're talking.
Well, there were some 400 plus Republican conservative groups and leaders who were targeted by your investigation. Their financial records were obtained, records of the RNC, the Trump campaign, Cleta Mitchell, the Conservative Partnership Institute, the America First Policy Institute, NRCC, NRSC, PACs, conservative groups, people all across the country, citizens, because we hear a lot about members of Congress. And we should, because of separation of powers and the egregious abuse of power. But what we're not talking about enough, in my opinion, are the American citizens that have been targeted. Because frankly, are there any limits to the power of a special prosecutor or special counsel? So much so in your abuse of power that in the summer of 2024, the indictment involving classified documents was dismissed after determining your appointment violated the Appointments Clause of the Constitution, but you continued to sign your name on court filings until the time you resigned from office in January of 2025. A federal judge just recently stated a prosecutor who continues to sign his name in court filings after a disqualification order should face disciplinary action or disbarment. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The
Did the gentleman have the opportunity to respond?
If the gentleman wants to
Yeah, that guy didn't get a chance to respond at all.
respond, he can.
With respect to the last point, Judge Cannon's order specifically limited her finding to that proceeding. So there would be nothing improper about continuing to litigate the cases in Washington, D.C. And with respect to Florida, there was nothing improper about taking an appeal of that very decision.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Alabama is recognized.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Smith, you appear before this committee today not as a neutral observer of the law, but at one point you were one of the most powerful prosecutors in the federal system, armed with enormous discretion, minimal oversight, and a mandate that goes to the very heart of our constitutional order. You brought charges during an active election cycle. You relied on legal theories that had never before been tested in context. And you did so while disregarding long-standing Department of Justice policies designed to prevent prosecutors from influencing elections. Mr. Smith, you claimed in your investigation you developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal scheme to overturn the results in the 2020 election and to prevent lawful transfer of power. However, a few weeks ago in Georgia, Fulton County election board officials stated that 315,000 ballots were certified without required signatures on the tabulator tapes for poll workers.
Wow.
These signatures were required by the Georgia statute. If not counted, this could have turned the state of Georgia red, and I won't doubt there were similar schemes in many other states. You were illegally appointed to serve as special counsel since you were not confirmed by advance and consent Senate and stated in the appointments clause. You also issued an indictment against then President Biden's most formidable political opponent. The candidate was President Trump, and you issued a gag order for President Trump during a 2024 election cycle. This was a major violation of President Trump's First Amendment rights and a poor attempt to outright censor the leading political candidate. These actions were nothing short of election interference. 9 senators, including Senator Tuberville from my state of Alabama, and multiple Republican members of the House of Representatives had their phones subpoenaed or their records subpoenaed. Some you seized their phones. Even then, Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, one of the highest ranking Republicans in the country, had his phone records subpoenaed, all for political gain. These subpoenas clearly violated the speech and debate clause. As John Keller of the DOJ's Public Integrity section addressed this issue in an email dated May 17th of 2023, DC Circuit President stated that the speech and debate clause, and the bar is this, bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. These instances are not only the tip of the iceberg about you and your team's flagrant disregard of the Constitution. Mr. Smith, your actions have changed and damaged confidence in our justice system. Today, this committee will determine whether that damage was a result of reckless judgment, political bias, or deliberate misuse of authority. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield you the balance of my time.
Yeah, that Georgia thing that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's all 3, just for the record.
Yeah.
Question.
Wow.
I love these little games I'll never play.
Florida is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Smith, you have a long tenure at the Department of Justice. Would you agree with the statement that DOJ charging policies require prosecutors to bring charges only where the admissible evidence is expected to be sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction? Is that right?
That is correct. That's from the federal principles of prosecution.
And in this case you brought against President Trump, one of the charges you pursued was under Title 18, Section 371, which requires an agreement to interfere with the lawful function of the United States through deceit or dishonesty that the defendant knowingly and intentionally joined, and an overt act. And what I'd like to ask you about is this. So you would agree that Section 371 requires dishonesty or deceit and also proof that a criminal defendant acted knowingly and intentionally. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. It requires knowing deceit targeted a lawful government function.
So you would then also agree, would you not, that opinion, disagreement, or even mistake is insufficient to satisfy the burden of criminal intent set forth in that statute?
A mistake certainly would. We needed to prove and intended to prove at trial that the false statements that Donald Trump made were knowingly false.
That they were false and that it was done knowingly. So even under your theory of the case, even if we took your facts as true, you still would have been required to prove that the president said something false and that he or did it knowingly. So going on to your next charge, let's talk about obstruction. There too, that charge requires proof of wrongful intent, does it not?
That's correct.
So if a defendant there actually believes a factual claim is true, that would mean he could not be convicted of that charge. Isn't that right?
Well,
Not correctly convicted.
The defendant for that charge would have to behave corruptly, and corruptly could include seeking an unlawful benefit, seeking a benefit to benefit themselves, in this case, to stay in office when they had in fact not won the election.
But there too, there's a requirement of intent, that this conduct must be knowing and intentional. Isn't that right?
There is an intent requirement, yes.
And
corrupt
didn't you
intent.
also acknowledge in your deposition that the president was receiving information from multiple advisors, Giuliani, Eastman, Clark, Powell, and in your deposition, you said he was almost just regurgitating what they told him. Isn't that right?
I don't believe I said he was regurgitating what they told him. I think what I said is that he was making knowingly false claims, that he was believing anything that would keep him in office, and he was rejecting
You would
anything.
agree that those people or some people were giving the president conflicting advice at that time. Would you not?
You are correct in that his original campaign staff told him he had lost. He fired them and brought in people who would.
But criminal liability under the statutes you used in your indictment requires proving intent, not simply the undermining of democratic norms or expressing an opinion with which you do not agree. So is it not correct, sir, that here you charged 2 intent-based crimes without any direct proof whatsoever that the conduct charged was knowing, intentional, or that you were going to have an adequate basis to sustain a conviction at trial?
I felt we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I felt that that proof included direct testimony from a number of witnesses to prove the knowing falsity of his claims.
Despite the fact that in your own deposition you acknowledge the existence of conflicting advice. If this defendant were anyone other than Donald J. Trump, Mr. Smith, I find it hard to believe that we would be sitting here today having a hearing about an indictment that was returned knowing that the elements of the offenses could not be demonstrated. Now, let's talk about this. I assume you're also familiar with the Department of Justice policy that prohibits prosecutors from selecting the timing of investigative or prosecutorial actions for the purpose of affecting any election.
Yes, I am. That's the election year sensitivities policy, and we followed it in all respects. The public integrity section who administers that policy concurred that we followed it in all respects.
Mr. Chairman, my time has expired.
The worst state to live.
Start with the gentleman from California, recognized for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Smith. When Attorney General Garland appointed you, he cited the particularly sensitive matters at issue and extraordinary circumstances as the reason for appointing a special counsel. What did you take that to mean?
What I understood that to mean is I was to conduct an independent investigation and come to my own conclusions about whether the facts and the law supported a prosecution.
But clearly he was alluding to the fact that we had an investigation into a leading candidate for president. That was part of the extraordinary circumstances. Would you agree?
I will rely on his public statements about that. I understood my role as special counsel was governed by the regulations, which required me to make an independent decision on my
So
own.
certainly you would agree it was important to approach the investigation with humility and restraint. Is that fair?
Yes. And that's what I sought to do. I sought to
And you
conduct.
thought you possessed those qualities. In fact, you testified at your deposition, quote, "I thought I was the right person for the job." Of course, some disagreed. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley, for example, has said, quote, "Jack Smith has a reputation for stretching criminal statutes beyond the breaking point." I assume you disagree with that statement by Professor Turley.
I do disagree with that statement. I think my career speaks for itself. I have been.
But that statement was also, and I'm sorry to have to interrupt, I just have a short amount of time. That statement was also echoed by the United States Supreme Court in a unanimous opinion in McDonald versus the United States, where the court overturned convictions that you had pursued against a former governor, criticizing your boundless interpretation of the federal criminal statute. At issue, that opinion was joined by Justices Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. So do you also disagree with that statement by those justices?
I have conducted my career in a nonpartisan fashion. That particular case, the legal position that the department took, that wasn't my personal position. That was the position of the department.
I see. So, Mr. Smith, I've had the opportunity during my time on this committee to review the work of two special counsels, John Durham, appointed during the Trump administration, and Robert Ure during the Biden administration. And in both cases, they seem to exhibit that humility and restraint that we talked about. But in reviewing in detail the way you conducted this investigation, I see a very different mode of operation. One that sought maximum litigation advantage at every turn, one that repeatedly circumvented constitutional limitations to the point that you had to be reined in again and again throughout the process. For example, shortly after you became special counsel, you issued a subpoena for the phone records of the Speaker of the House of Representatives over a 2-month period, along with for other senators and representatives, even though the public integrity section at DOJ cited litigation risk to doing this. What was that litigation risk?
With respect to the
It takes like at least 2 seconds to answer any question.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. If you're getting interrogated by Congress, you should really try to let as much resonate before you answer. Right?
Yeah, just run the clock out.
Approved by the public integrity section. The public integrity section, in approving those subpoenas, noted the fact that the subpoenas were for records for people who were not targets of our investigation.
But they said there was a litigation risk and you moved forward with it anyway. And not only that, but you also sought orders from judges, making it so those who were having their records seized would not know about it. And you even didn't tell those judges that it was members of Congress whose records you were going after, in apparent contravention of a federal statute saying that a telephone provider for a Senate office shall not be barred from providing notice that the records had been requested. Now, if you sought to do that today, would you be able to get away with that, with asking the judges for a non-disclosure order without telling them these are members of Congress?
No.
When we secured these toll record subpoenas, it was done consistent with department policy. You're correct in that that policy has since changed.
It changed the policy based upon the actions that you took. Similarly, you issued a gag order against President Trump that the DC Circuit Court of Appeals vacated as overbroad. Is that correct?
Well, the DC Court of Appeals, in passing on that order, found that it was justified. They narrowed the order, but they confirmed that the phenomenon.
They narrowed the order because it was overbroad. In addition to that, you sought an early trial date that the district court rejected. And when you presented your prosecution memo to Attorney General Garland, it's been reported that he was visibly unimpressed and expressed First Amendment concerns. So, Mr. Smith, looking at the record, I see that you were reversed and rebuked by the Department of Justice itself, by the Attorney General, by the Solicitor General, by multiple district court justices, judges, by the Court of Appeals, and by the U.S. Supreme Court itself. So my final question is, do you believe that you made any mistakes? Do you have any regrets as to how you conducted this investigation?
If I have any regret, it would be not expressing enough appreciation for my staff who work so hard in these investigations. We followed the facts and the law. These people who work for me sacrificed endlessly and have endured way too much for just doing their job. So if anything, I wish that I had thanked them.
I'm the gentleman.
No mistakes. There's that humility. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Yeah. First of all, just a couple of comments. There are probably 10 people on this committee who have more conversations with 10, 15 people on this committee who have more conversations with Donald
Yo, this fucking dusty old fuck. Every time I see him, I'm like, great.
Trump to myself. But anybody who says that Donald Trump thought he won that election, that is just plain not true. No way. Unless he's the best actor in the history.
Well, I mean, address the Georgia thing. That's the
this
thing.
building.
Here, pause it real
We
quick.
agree.
That's the thing. It's like, so when someone has an argument and they're talking about the Georgia thing, how they were saying that they found like, what was it, 30,000 votes that were unsigned or something, or was it 300,000? I forget, but
I don't know the number.
But it's earlier in the episode. If you want, rewind it, check it out. But let's put it this way: it was a substantial amount that would have swayed that state. So it's like, dude, if you're going to make that accusation, you have to address what everybody else is saying. Address the other argument. Otherwise, you're just saying shit, you know? But they know. I mean, they know what they're doing. They know what they're fucking doing.
Donald Trump.
I feel like if I punched that guy, just dust would fly everywhere.
Donald Trump did not believe. Donald Trump did not believe he lost that election.
Furniture.
He just did. No way. And I think on January 6th, I can't believe there were any congressmen here who didn't think Joe Biden was going to be sworn in as president. So this was,
Yeah, exactly. You could totally smell him from here.
it was a riot, but it wasn't a threat to the future of the republic. Okay. Now we should have posted up here a document for you to look at. Here we are. Okay. This is something we received with regard to Arctic frost. It's a list of about 70 names. I don't know whether or not you're familiar with the document.
I don't believe I'm familiar with this document.
Okay. The document contains just about every person who was higher up in the Donald Trump campaign. There's a little more emphasis on here on people involved in Wisconsin, but you're not familiar with the document.
I'm sorry, sir. What was your question?
Would you know what was in this document? These names, you familiar with them at all? They're under the impression that most of these people, maybe almost all of them, were subpoenaed by you at some time or other. That helps you.
Some of these names I am familiar with. Others I'm not familiar with, or I don't recall as I sit here now.
Okay, we'll eventually submit another question for you on this later on. From the time you were appointed as special counsel to your resignation on in January 2025, did you ever have contact with the January 6th Select Committee?
Some people, it's like, I'm trying to picture this guy's campaign when he's running for this seat. How does he win? This fucking bag of dust.
Yeah.
I did not personally, when I became special counsel, I directed my deputy to ask the select committee to provide us whatever evidence they would provide us.
So you directed people to have direct contact?
I directed my deputy to make contact to collect evidence from them.
And that's JP Cooney?
JP Cooney, my deputy, correct.
Okay. Did you have any concern that the evidence collected by the partisan select committee would be in any way tainted by politics?
I apologize, sir. I just couldn't hear you because of the door.
I'm sorry, we had people going through here. Did you have any concern that the evidence collected by the partisan select committee would be in any way tainted by politics?
I intended to conduct an independent investigation, and my goal was to collect the evidence, assess it, and consider it with all the other evidence we would collect and make an independent determination in my investigation separate from that investigation.
I'm going to go back and ask you something on that one before, because I think I know the answer. There's a person on that list by the name of Vicki McKenna who we believe did have her records subpoenaed. Are you familiar with that name at all?
As I sit here right now, I am not familiar with that name.
Okay, thank you. With regard to part of the documents that you received was with regard to Cassidy Hutchison, right?
We requested that they give us everything they were willing to give us. As I sit here now, I don't recall if specifically her information was in there, but I'm not denying that it was. It may well have been.
Okay, we'll go back. Your team issued subpoenas to various financial institutions, telecommunications providers, and conservative entities.
I mean, he had to have run for a seat where there was like nobody else running at all.
Yeah, I can't help but fucking just roast this guy. I know we're supposed to be like listening to the information.
I'm the same way right now.
Yeah, I'm like trying to focus, but I'm also like, this dude probably eats like a fucking tuna sandwich for lunch or like a sardine sandwich for lunch, and you can just fucking.
Yeah.
He's
He
always
gets-
got something on his lip.
Yeah.
You
he
know.
he gets like those crusty sandwiches from the vending machine.
Yeah.
Requesting communication.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
A fucking can of sardines.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, a sardine sandwich. He's always got a little bit on his lip as he's eating.
That is so true. Ugh.
Communications between them and President Trump's
What a fucking abomination this guy is.
I know.
campaign, right?
We did issue subpoenas for various sorts of information, correct?
Okay. And the bank records, you would say, or we could describe, were fairly broad request.
We issued subpoenas for certain bank records as part of our investigation, yes.
Okay. Shortly after you're appointed, you issued subpoenas to state and local officials for their communications with President Trump. Is that correct? And his campaign.
As I sit here now, I'm trying to recall specifically which officials, but I know we issued a number of subpoenas in our investigation to understand the communications between President Trump and various entities, including state officials.
One final question.
One quick final question.
Yeah. Do you really believe that President Trump thinks he lost that election?
Our investigation following the facts and the law determined that...
No way. Thank you. That's enough.
I mean, unanimous
Wait.
consent request from New York is recognized for unanimous consent.
These transforming glasses automatically adjust.
Crazy.
Yeah, that guy's like fucking getting kicked in the nuts a bunch of times.
Yeah, I know.